Yo, what's up? What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Naqwatsveni Podcast. This is episode 20, and I hope that you guys are enjoying the podcast so far. So on today's episode, I got Carl and J-Man from the Carl and J-Man Podcast. I'm pretty sure majority of you guys already know who they are. They've been in the podcast for probably about 2 to 3 years now. I'm excited to have them on the podcast, especially for the 20th episode. This is going to be the last episode for season 2. Season 3 will be another banger, so stay tuned for that. Again, Qwa'qwah for everybody tuning in and listening to the podcast. So enjoy today's podcast. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Naqwatsveni Podcast. This is the 20th episode, 2 seasons in. This is going to be the last episode for season 2. Pretty cool. I made it this far. Who would have known? I didn't. But on the 20th episode, I have Carl and J-Man from the Carl and J-Man Podcast. Got Sutta and Carl. I mean, pretty much sums up their name. But yeah, I invited them onto the podcast, and we're just gonna bullshit around and just talk about whatever and just have fun with this 20th episode. What's up, Carl and J-Man? How you guys doing?
You are now listening to the stylistic sounds of J-Man, and with me is Carl. So thank you, Dalvin, for inviting us onto your podcast. Very honored to be on the 20th episode of your podcast. And so it's great that there's another Hopi out there that's doing podcasting, representing for Carl's favorite group, the Urban Natives out there. So
it's great to be on your podcast here. What's going on with you?
Not much right now. I'm just chilling in my room doing the podcast. I got done, like I said earlier. I went to the shop to pick up my car because it was getting fixed. I got my chitty all fixed up. Or how would you say in Hopi, Sikisve? Is that how you say car?
Yeah. Sikisve.
Yeah.
Sikisve?
You got
it.
Yeah.
Cool. It's weird how that word name came about, because from what my dad was telling me, how Sikisve like came about, it's like that you can, like, the cars are like backfiring, more like farting. I guess that's how it kind of got their name. Yeah.
Yeah, when you start the car, then it goes that way.
Yeah.
Basically, it's farting, so that's why they call it Sikisve.
Yeah, it's like the 1920s version.
Yeah, so when he's called a Sikisve, the next kind of a tough day when that happens. But early, though, I do love beans, though, man. I think beans are really good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, yeah, it's so strange because that So's one meal that she can cook very, very well. It's beans,
because she's a true Hopi. That's why I always kind of make that joke, is that, because I guess stereotypically us Mexicans are known as the beaners, because you go to Taco Bell or Filiberto's, nothing but beans on the menu, but always made the argument that Hopis, we're the real beaners.
We're real beaners. Yeah,
we're the real beaners. Two of my favorite Hopi dishes is patup suki, and then lima beans, quiptosi.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
My favorite. That is my favorite.
Yeah, it is.
But you know what I've noticed, though, and Delvin, you could probably relate to this because you're a Munkapi too, and Carl, he's a
Munkapi too.
I don't know what they call you guys.
A real Munkapi.
Mainlanders? I don't know. I know you guys like to call yourselves unquote real Hopi.
Real Hopis out here.
But then, you know what? Us Munkaps, we're vegetarians, because then when I think about like a lot of dishes like that, beans.
Yeah.
Or even like during Polomuya time, hara, that we cook it without any sikwi in it.
Yeah.
But then out here, you guys like to put all kinds of freaking pork into your stew.
Yeah, it's strange because that's what Gwa would say during those times too. Like when he was young, his mom used to do the same thing too. Just make it one day. It would be one day where it would just be water and haru. That's it. It's that. And he's like, oh, it tastes so nasty. It was like
good.
He's like talking about. And then when they add like weehu or anything like that, then it's like it brought out the flavor.
Brings out the flavor.
I noticed that there's like bacon up in the haja as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and a lot of salt pork.
A lot of salt pork. I like it with the salt pork.
Because that was one thing that I noticed when I first, before the Red's famous wife was the Red's famous wife, and she made haru, and I tried it for the first time. That was the first thing I noticed. Like, hey, you put a lot of sickly.
You said that. Damn, this tastes better than what we've been cooking.
The other though, haru with that jalapiki.
Oh yeah.
yeah. My wife makes it too evil for me though.
Oh really? Yeah, I know. Usually the Cuba exchange.
Yeah.
So it will usually do that.
When I was a kid, because I was real queasy about my food, my mom sent me down there with a big plate of macaroni and cheese.
Damn.
The else's eating their haru and their piki. And I didn't even ask for it. She just gave it to me because she liked it.
She already knew that this kid is special.
This is the prince here, so he has to take this one.
Exactly. This is the prince here. But yeah, Dalvin, thanks for welcoming us on. And I don't know what your listener dynamic is like, or for how the folks that listen to you. I'm hoping that a lot of your listeners are the same as our listeners, supporting Hopis that are doing big things. You yourself, you were doing big things long before we started doing big things, because I know you had your skateboard company out there, and so I think that you're probably one of the first people out there that was doing the native skateboarding with the art on top of the behind the deck.
Yeah.
And so I always thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
And so and I'm sure you probably already talked about that on this podcast about how you
got started,
and things like that. But I that's one thing that I've always admired about you and the work that you've done. So I feel real honored to be here on your podcast.
He in other words, he feels really jealous about that.
And this is an idea that Carl and I had been throwing around, but a Carl and J-Man skateboard deck that we can hang in the office.
Yeah, or try out.
Yeah, I could definitely make that happen. Yeah, dude, that'd be cool. Just to have like a one-off of you guys' deck and hang it out, or probably like maybe sell a couple of them and maybe give away or something like that.
Because then when Carl really pisses me off, then I can just take that off
down
the wall and
beat him with my own name.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Like how did you I know this is kind of off topic, but how did you find the person to like print these things on a skateboard? Like,
how did you get all
yeah,
that
it's like
started?
what did you like go down to the skate shop and say, hey, plaster this on here, I want this thing on here, this will sell? Yeah.
Well, basically I've been skating for a very long time, and I know people growing up skating, and there's people out there that own skate companies and all this stuff, and I would just like ask them questions, because I'm a type of person that would just like ask questions no matter if it's stupid or dumb. Like, I'm just out there asking questions, because I was once told that a wise person always asks questions. So I'm that type of person that just curious about everything. So I would ask questions. And growing up skating, it's like I knew skateboarders who knew other skateboarders that owned their own brand, and that's something I wanted to do, was have a skateboarding company or a brand. So at the time, when I wanted to get started, like I started like researching on the internet and stuff like that back in 2014, and I found these skateboarding manufacturers that print wholesale skateboards, but I didn't really know too much about it. So I have a professional skateboarder friend who goes by the name of Jake Brown, and he's the one that helped me get in contact with some of these distributors out in California, because he has connects with them out there. And once I got in contact with them, that's pretty much how it started, was just like word of mouth. And like I was lucky enough to know somebody that was like had contacts with the distributors, so that's basically how I got my foot in the door.
That's pretty cool, Delvin, because I did tell my wife one time that because you do the skateboard and you do it in a way to where it's art. And, a lot of people, they buy the decks, and I actually have one of your decks, and it's hanging up in the living room on our wall. And so I think that's what a lot of people do with the decks, because that's become real popular now, that a lot of native artists are painting or designing skateboard decks, and now that's become a thing. But I've always told my wife that if I'm ever going to get a native skateboard for art purposes, I'm going to get it from somebody like you, because you actually skate. And Melvin, I could probably even beat you on that video game.
Have you played on the Nintendo 64?
Yeah,
I have that game too, Tony Hawk Skater 3.
And then so like in high school, we'd spend hours playing in that. And so that's kind of how I became familiar with the moves.
Yes.
And then so I'd be doing kickflips all up and
the
down.
Grinds, the 50-50.
All up and down the ramps, and accomplished the 900 too one time.
You accomplished the 900. I wanted to do that. I have never done that on that game before. It's always a 700. I never got that far.
You're not athletic enough, Carl.
It's like I get burned out.
You get burned
I get burned out just from playing that game. Get a sports injury from just
Gonna sprain your thumbs.
Yeah.
No, I've tried to skate, and I just don't have the coordination for it, and I'm too scared. Like, because then you got to be fearless, to skate. Because did you go to a public school too, Carl?
Yeah.
Because I know that Delvin, me, and Carl are a little bit ahead of you in years. But when I got to the junior high school, that's when kids really started skating in Tuba.
Yeah.
But back then there was no skate park. And so they were just skating wherever that they could, which I guess is probably just
at the schools,
the skateboard culture, just trying to skate wherever it is that you could. And so the kids would be there with their skateboards, and then into high school it became even more popular. And then so there were more kids that were skating, and then that there was a certain type of clothes that they wore.
Yes,
and there was skateboard shoes too.
These and what was it, Osiris or something?
And then he got into skating, and so he had a skateboard, and he was actually pretty. He could at least do some of the little tricks.
Yeah.
He could at least do a kick flip or a heel flip. And I would try, but man, I ate so much asphalt. Like, fuck this, man. This ain't for me. When I'll stick to basketball. And
when I was in grade school, when I saw the skater kids wear those etnies and those shoes like that, the ones that looked like huge shoes, I wanted some of those. I begged Soul.
That was the coolest
thing in the world. I was like, Soul, you got to get me some of these moon boots looking shoes, man. These moon boots.
The clouds.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of one thing, at least as far as respecting the culture, you know what I mean? Because I'm like that, we mentioned that, a lot of artists that paint on skateboards.
Yeah.
Have probably never written on a skateboard themselves. It's just like that reservation concept. You don't dress like a cowboy. I remember from high school, you didn't dress like a skater.
Actually,
you didn't wear tap-out clothes unless you actually knew how to fight. Because walking around with tap-out clothes, you're promoting that, okay, if somebody tries to fight me, I'm going to kick somebody's ass.
That's the reason why I always wore the big dog shirt.
Big dog. Damn, whatever happened to that brand?
Yeah, I remember the big dog brand.
Was that what the dog was spelled? D-A-W-G.
Yeah.
So Dalvin, is that how you started skating too? Like in school, and you met just a bunch of friends that were skating, and you guys just kind of screwed around and.
Yeah, so I started skating. Well, throughout my whole life, I was into sports like basketball, football, baseball. Like I tried it all, cross country. The only two main sports that I really fell in love with was basketball and cross country. But then like those are just like seasonal sports.
Okay.
You can't do it all the time. And with this one time when I was coming back home from practice from cross country back in high school, like I would always see the same person skating in front of the trading post in Tuba. Like every day, every time I walk home from school. So I finally got this one day, like I finally went up to him and I just started asking him questions like what his name was, how long he's been skating, and I said it's pretty cool that I can because he was doing tricks and all that stuff, and it was very interesting. Like I just got intrigued by it. So that following week, I asked my mom and my dad if I could get a board. So basically, I just started skateboarding because of how how funny it looked just by the way this person was like flipping the tricks and just like doing all these weird tricks with it. I was like, damn, that's cool. So I said I give it a try. So like I said, I told my mom and them to see if I can get a skateboard. We went to Flag like I think the following week or whatever. I didn't know nothing about skateboards, so I just went to Walmart because Walmart had like a bunch of varieties of skateboards that were already like built. I remember my first board was a Mongoose skateboard, so that's pretty much how I got started. Was just walking home from cross country practice, seeing my friend till this day. His name's Noel Norris. He's the one that intrigued me into skating, so that's how I got started with skateboarding, just by seeing him skating in front of the trading post, and I got hooked on it, tried it, and I never stepped off ever since. And I've been skating ever since then. That was back in like probably 2002.
That's pretty cool, man. Because then, like now, there's a skate park there.
The Yellowman skate park, yeah.
Right? And then back in your day, you probably had certain spots that you could only skate at. And then even out here in Hopi, that they built a skate park too. I think in First Mesa area.
Really?
It was in the newspaper.
Where was I?
Exactly. It was in the newspaper. But then so like Hopis, they're starting to get into skating.
Like what is it called? Pop culture now.
Into skating now. And I guess that's kind of a unique thing for Hopi is skating, because then like if you live in the village,
you just skate on the
how do you
dirt.
Skate? Where do you skate?
Doing kickflips on the mound
because there's no asphalt in the village, and so I think that's kind of a different.
I can't go very far
out here, and I guess that's an interesting thing, because of our communities out here, the reservation, that the actual physical landscape prevents you from doing certain things. Because on our podcast we talked about our modes of transportation, that most folks out here, they don't have vehicles
to buy
horse. But if you have a bike, then there's only so far your bike will take you.
Yeah, exactly. Because like when I was living in the city, I used to bike everywhere. I bought a 10-speed bike.
You bike?
I biked. I hiked. Yeah.
Don't embarrass yourself, Carl. Just because you can lie to Delvin and his audience doesn't mean that our audience won't somehow listen to this and find out.
This is not lying. I used to be I used to be like the Iron Man. I used to join the the marathons. What was the decathlon.
I think they're called 1 mile community runs, Carl.
The 100 mile club. 100 mile club doesn't count, Carl.
Did you play any sports, Carl?
Yeah. I played the NBA on PlayStation 2. Yeah, MLB on PlayStation 1. So no, I never played because I've always wanted to join baseball. Like baseball, I tried out during like my grade school years, and I was very bad at it. They said that maybe next year, Carl. Maybe next year, and I'm like, I got discouraged because of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. That's a real life story.
That was a real life story.
Well, that's a lot more believable than that you used to run.
He's all like, there's a Quidditch match that's happening right next door if you guys want to try out. So
you'll be more
suited for that.
Suited for this. I used to. Well, I ran cross country in high school all 4 years. I ran track my freshman and senior year in high school, and then I played basketball. I think my freshman, sophomore, and junior year in high school. And so that was as close to sports as I got. But I love watching sports.
Carl, he watches Quidditch match.
Harry Potter on Rewind.
Harry Potter.
Cricket.
He's a big fan of
D&D.
Beach volleyball, just the ladies. You can imagine the attraction to watching that.
Yes.
It's crazy the fact that going back to like the skateboarding part, like I feel like nowadays it's just like a trend, or like how Carl was saying, like it's pop culture now or something like that. And to me, like that's annoying, because skateboarding back then in the early 2000s was a lot more fun than it is now. Well, in my opinion, because nowadays it's just more of like who's better than who makes like more money, or who has it's all, it comes down to social media as well, like who has more likes or followers. And it's, to me, that's just ridiculous. It's not about the fundamentals of skateboarding anymore.
Yeah.
And also going back to like what J-Man was talking about, like when I started Naqwatsveni skateboarding, nobody was putting artwork on skateboards. Nobody. Once I put out my first board, that's when other artists started putting designs on skateboards because they saw what I was doing and it got traction. And in their mentality, it's like, oh, I can make money off this. But see, that's the thing. There's hardly any money in skateboarding. I do this because it's my passion. It's something that I love. It's something that I literally put my blood, sweat, and tears into. And that's passion right there. That's why I love skateboarding. A lot of people tell me to quit, but this is something that I love doing. I don't do it for the money or the fame or anything that comes along with it because I could care less about all those things. Because when those things fade away, then you have no purpose of what you're doing, whatever it is that you're doing, I guess you could say. Just like people like that are doing the skateboarding design, they only do it for a short period of time and then they stop doing it because maybe it's not giving them any more traction or making them any money. But to me, like there is no money in skateboarding. So that's where my mentality is with that whole thing.
That's how I feel about podcasting. Me and Carl just got done talking about that.
there's
we haven't got paid. Like
there's no money involved in it.
All this work that we're doing, and then we're kind of in the same boat as you, Delvin. We're the only Hopi podcast, and then we got successful. And no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's crazy because when we got started, it was just a fluke that both of us just said that. Oh, it was actually his idea. He said that, hey, why don't we talk about something like that? And I was against it. I was like, okay, well, I don't know about it. But then we said, okay, well, let's make a date, an actual date with wine and dinner. You know, no, he said that, and we recorded that. And we had no idea what we were going to talk about.
Yeah,
we kind of had a gist of it, but we're just like, okay, well, we'll talk about it. And so we said, let's talk about our past. Let's talk about like our childhood. And so we recorded it, and I said, it sounds okay. I don't know if it's going to go well or not. So let's give it to our family members.
Just close
people, see if they like it. And
we gave it to like 2 people.
Yeah, I only showed like so and so. Was all like, who's this?
And they said it was all right.
And so I was like, who's talking? Who's talking? I was like, it's him.
Who's that Bahana?
That's what she said. He's like, who's that Bahana guy? I said, that's me, so it's like, you sound so Bahana. And so I said, like, he's like, just publish it. Just publish it, see what happens. And from then on, I mean, like, that's our first episode. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was no edits to it. It was just like just record and then just plaster.
It was just raw. And the experience that we had over at the Western Navajo Fair, because our guy Jeremy Baca, he brought us on to do the live podcast. And we asked him, what is it about us why did you invite us?
Yeah,
everything that you guys talk about, whether even though some of it might be bullshit, that it's relatable.
Yeah,
that people can relate to it. And I think as far as podcasts go, I know like for a lot of native podcasts, they like to talk about kind of the academic stuff, like the American Indian Studies stuff or the history stuff. They like to talk about decolonization, about all of this racism that's going on, which is good to talk about, but then nobody really talks about like our childhood, the type of childhood that we grew up growing up in the dirt, some of the real goofy shit that we used to do to each other. And and I think that's such a unique upbringing, because then at one time it's like res kids, and we're like half civilized and half wild people. And
yes.
I think that's what makes us unique, is because then, we're only civilized up to a certain degree. But then, like, you think about being kids. Like, I remember being a kid at the day school when one of the kids learned that, if you choke somebody hard enough, they'll pass out.
Yes.
And then, so we tried to make each other pass out from choking them hard enough. Like, we do dumb shit like that. Like, who else in the world? Who else in the world?
I know that white kids are never going to do that.
And then just even some of the things that we did, like during recess, like the day school days, because then like there were periods of time where you go out and see who could catch the most grasshoppers.
Yeah.
Because grasshoppers would start coming out on the playground. And then so everybody's trying to catch grasshoppers. And then playing cards becomes popular. Everybody's playing speed on the playground. And Pogs became popular.
Pogs.
Everybody's playing Pogs on the playground.
Hacky sack.
Became popular. But the other thing, too, was that at least, and I'm pretty sure it's probably true for all reservation schools, was that in our playground, that there used to be spinach, wild carrots, and wild onions that would grow on the campus, and then so kids, we would dig for them during lunch.
Yeah.
But then it got so competitive that kids would steal spoons from the cafeteria so that they could dig the carrots up.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about those small things. And I think from that very first episode that Carl and I did, that was real popular with that. We talked about the different things that we would eat. That was just like real unusual for other people, because for some reason, Reds kids, like, we just love Kool-Aid.
Yeah, for some reason, we just like snorting Kool-Aid.
It's not the prepared Kool-Aid. It's not the Kool-Aid you drink. It's the powder.
Powdered one in the pack.
We like to eat the powder.
Yeah, the powder in the pack.
And then so everybody has their own concoctions. I was a simple man. I just like straight salt in my Kool-Aid mix. But I remember other kids got real, like, they became a chemist. They're adding sugar. They're adding that Mexican candy, that powdered lime.
Oh, yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
They would
yeah.
add that to it, too. And then so you had all of these different mixes of Kool-Aid.
I remember one time on the bus as well, too. Remember those little Mexican lime salt?
Yeah.
They come in these little containers.
Little cylinder
containers. And you eat them. And the citric acid will, burn your mouth.
Yeah.
And so we dared each other how much salt we could eat, put in our mouth. Oh man, we were native kids, are idiots. We ended up like cuts on our tongue, and we couldn't eat for about 3 or 4 days because of the citric acid and the salt combined. And because we were just like. But yes, like we're doing dumb things.
Because, like you mentioned, that kids would actually snort the Kool-Aid.
Yes,
too. Or they would snort the candy that came in those real long tubes.
Oh, the
powder, the pixie sticks, or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And I remember that kids would snort them, and especially if you snorted the red one, like it would just loosen your mucus and your gillespie in your nose, and it would just run out like somebody popped you in the nose, and then it'd be like you had a broken nose. And the other thing too about Hopis that I remember, this is I think more specific to Hopis, but even as kids I remember that the idea of gangs were real popular.
Yeah.
And I think it's because like a lot of our older siblings, they liked the black and the Mexican movies. Everybody was
Blood In, Blood Out.
Everybody was into Blood In, Blood Out. Everybody was into Friday.
Yeah.
Everybody was into Belly. I remember Belly. Everybody was a wannabe gangster. And you had all of these cousins or older siblings that were dressed in their gangster wear. And I remember as kids, I think we were like in 5th or 6th grade, but we wanted to join a gang.
Yeah.
And so we found these older kids that had a quote unquote gang. And they really jumped us in. They really
my God.
Punching us in our bodies and all this, and we're all happy because we're in a gang.
You're in a gang now.
Yeah.
Look good for your future.
Look good for my resume for going to the junior high school.
Your future MySpace profile.
But it was funny though, because then I think that was a Hopi thing, because then that was at the day school, and then so everybody's all thugged out at the day school, and the school at the junior high, they're all into heavy metal. These different.
That's the reason why I'm into heavy metal.
And so that was that's why I think that was a Hopi thing.
You guys went to the junior high, right?
Yeah. We went to the public.
We went to public school. Yeah, we're public school born.
Because I went to boarding school.
I was just about to say the boarding school was too johned out for us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, is there anything you want to ask us about who's the better looking one? Because I have an answer.
Hey man, spoiler alert.
How about this question? Like, what is your biggest failure that you guys learned from an experience?
I'll let Carl start with this one.
I'll start with this one here. My biggest failure is joining J-Man on a podcast named Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast. No, I think what would be my biggest failure would be like not going to a 4-year college when I had the chance to go to a 4-year college. Because I went to a technical school and then I went to a 4-year college afterwards. So I almost graduated from a 4-year college. I had 1 year left. I believe that I just kind of didn't want to have a second bachelor's degree because the technical school that I went to wasn't a, so all my credits couldn't transfer in. So I would have to be starting from a freshman. So I already had a bachelor's from the technical school, and I didn't want to get my second bachelor's over there. So I think it would just kind of discourage me from maybe going to school. I think that was one of my biggest failures in life, other than just like not doing, not starting a business of like what I wanted. Like looking at all of these other entrepreneurs here on the reservation, I think that they're like goal setters. Like, they're people who started like with the soap. The soap? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the soap. And like you as the skateboard company is, or like, there's other people that do like art as well too, because I did go to school for art, but then I regret that I have not started anything or have not used that to my advantage there. So I think that was like one of my failures in life. I'm pretty sure there's other failures as well too, but
yeah, I could probably even just myself write a whole list of that, maybe some even greater than the ones that you shared.
What about you? Yeah, Jamin, what are your failures?
I was thinking about it as Carl was talking. I think that some of the biggest failures in my life are the self-inflicted wounds. Because I think like as native males, especially native males in particular, that, a lot of us, we get caught up in vices, whether that be like alcoholism or just being dumb, womanizing, things like that, or other drug abuse. There's just a lot of things that we get caught up in. And so a lot of those things are self-inflicted wounds. A lot of those things, they impede our own progress. A lot of those things, it pushes us backwards from where it is that we want. Fears for goals. And so, I've committed some dumb things in my life that has cost me money, that has cost me time, that has cost me personal relationships. And, I think those are the failures that I kind of, I guess, try to learn from, because then, it's life is, the way I think about it is that life is hard enough already.
Yeah.
That why do we make it even harder on ourselves by doing stupid things? And then so now, especially as getting older, becoming a father, being a husband, that, you really try to make the right choices. And especially where Carl and I are at, I don't know why he said it's a failure, but probably one of the biggest successes of his life, being partnered with me doing this podcast. But like, and somebody said it to me, it's that, you guys are in the public eye. Even though people listen to you, but yet, like we've been approached often in public, talk to us about the podcast. And, this is something, this is a nice conversation that we're having, because we never get personal on our own podcast.
Yeah.
We're always talking about other things, talking about issues pertaining to Hopi, talking about occurrences that are happening on Hopi, or real-time news that's happening on Hopi. But we never talk about Carl and J-Man really on our podcast.
No.
And so talking about our failures and then our successes as the podcast, being in the public eye, because one of the side conversations that Carl and I have all the time is like, we have this huge fear of getting canceled on social media, because social media is such a monster, in my opinion, these days, because I think that, it's this space where people are allowed to say whatever it is that they want.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely no filter. There's no review committee, ensure accuracies. There's nothing like that. And so people are free to say whatever the F that they want to say, whether it's true or false, whether it's dumb or smart. And people can post things bashing other people, and people will gravitate to it. And it'll build and build and build. And it's such an ugly thing. And even, like Carl and I being public figures, especially here on our little reservation, that even a little reservation, that if you get caught up in drama and it gets posted online, that it can be a real shit show.
It can. I mean, like social media can praise you one day and then, shut you down the next. And that's I guess that's the beauty of social media and how we portray ourselves as that. And that's the reason why I just believe that, if I post something, then somebody doesn't like what you're saying or like what you're doing.
Comment that we made on one of our episodes one time, you tried to post something about being happy.
Yeah.
Then somebody's mad that you're happy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think that's one of the things that we kind of like avoid in a way, where we make fun of ourselves, but we're cautious about making fun of ourselves that portray to other people.
And this is something too that that's the whole reason why we hired our marketing intern AJ, is that we wanted somebody to deal with the social media, and the people that comment, because then our messages fill up pretty constantly.
Yeah.
Especially if we produce a really good episode, then you get a lot of people in the comments, or at least in the messages. And I just don't have the time, energy, to converse with people and what it is that they want to talk about, because then it's like Carl and I podcast for a living, like we're full-time employees. We got being Hopis on the reservation. Then in turn, you got Kiva things, you got field things. Like there's just so much time to fill with your life than to be conversing. And this is a comment that I made to Carl, is that we don't live on social media.
No.
Because, we were talking about all of these different podcasts that are out there. We're following a lot of different people who we have no idea who the hell they are, because then it's like, because our marketing intern, she had the strategy, and so she got us to follow a lot of people. And I remember I was looking on our Instagram one time, looking at all the people that we followed. I was like, who the heck are all of these people? But then it's our marketing intern, and I trust her, so we allowed her to do that. But because the fact that we don't know a lot of these people, who they are, other podcasts, other influencers, even like the Western Navajo Fair, for example, that they had this list of native influencers that were going to be at the fair. I hadn't heard of it.
Yeah, it was strange because who was telling us about these different people, and I had who these people were, and they're apparently they're famous. Social media. Yeah, they're TikTok and Facebook and Instagram,
and I can say this comfortably now because we're on your podcast, Delvin, and it's something I'd be afraid to say on our own podcast. If you're in your 30s and 40s and you spend significant time on TikTok, you need to take your ass outside, chop some wood, clean your yard. Oh, but also don't forget to follow our TikTok. We're on TikTok at Carl and J-Man.
It's crazy because I don't even know how to work TikTok. I had it on my phone. I don't know how to do that. It just pops up with like health videos and sometimes dancing girls.
Dancing girls. Oh yeah, but yeah, like Jamie was saying, like the people that are like in the 30s or 40s, like to get outside and do something, they're just gonna make a TikTok about it, no matter what. Even though they're outside, they're gonna make a TikTok about it, chopping wood or bringing in wood or some shit. I mean, they're just gonna, I don't know, they're not gonna stay away from the phone.
And I think that maybe that's just a difference in like upbringing, because then, as a kid growing up, that, you were forced to help out with chores. And a lot of those chores were like chopping wood or being Hopis. As a boy, you helped your dad and your dad in the cornfield. And so you're out there in the field doing things, but because of the mentality of those older men, and plus we didn't have the technology back then to be TikToking down in our fields, or TikToking on some of the various things that we're doing. So it encourages people to live their life through the lens of their phone.
Yeah, through another means of communication. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, like for us, I mean, because we're old school. We can consider ourselves old school. And like, when we were growing up, cell phones, technology like that wasn't a thing. Wasn't a thing. Of course, it was ready to be a thing because we're older than the internet. We're older than that. So, and having that with us, it's like, it's still, to me, like it still boggles my mind that I can make a movie on my cell phone rather than having like this huge
equipment.
Yeah, old school cameras. And to me, like, you can take the same quality pictures on your cell phone rather than having your camera on like an actual camera. So it just kind of boggles my mind with that. So,
and well, I've said this off air before to Carl and to AJ, but I have a real prejudice against TikTok, and prejudice meaning that I don't know everything about it, but yeah, I hate it because I have this perception of what it is because I have friends that I know personally.
Yeah,
and I have friends that I know personally, and I know that they don't know how to dance. I know that they can't sing. Like, you don't look good doing this. It's like you're putting it out there for other people to watch. Like, with you. And so, I have this perception of it, but my daughters, they tell me all the time that, oh no, there's some really cool TikToks out there.
Yeah.
There's some really funny TikToks, or there's like how-to TikToks that teach you how to make certain things, because one of my daughters, she's a really good cook. She makes really good food, and then she'll cook something that's new, and then she'll tell us, oh, I learned it from TikTok.
Weird.
Like, what? How do I get to those videos? Like, I'm just seeing the dumb shit that people share on their stories.
I'm still old school. I go to Bookman's and grab a cookbook in order to make something new.
You don't even cook, Carl.
I
you
cook.
Just tell Soul to make you your sandwich.
I cook, so I usually tell Soul to cook.
But yeah, that's kind of my prejudice against social media, and then I'm bashing people on TikTok. And yet here we have a TikTok.
We have a TikTok video here.
People to follow us on TikTok. 2022 is that you do have to adapt to the trends to a degree, because we just had this whole conversation that we despise trends, and I do myself too, because Delvin, I think that I share your frustrations, because there are some certain things that I'm passionate about that I really like, but have become popularized, and then you get this bandwagon that comes, and they want to be a part of it because for the time being, it's cool. It's the cool thing to do. But when you're somebody that's about it, then you know that you're there because you love it. You know that you're there because you're passionate about it. You know that you're there because that's what you believe in. But yet other people, they're just there because that's popular at the moment, and they just want to be a part of this popular train. So I definitely feel that. And I don't know how much longer you're going to have us on here, but Delvin, I definitely wanted to bring this up to annoy Carl, that you and I both have in common, professional wrestling fans.
Oh my God.
Hell yeah.
Who's your favorite wrestlers at the moment?
At the moment, like in this time, since now I'm like watching AEW, it's gonna have to be MJF, Michael Jacob Freeman, because I like his personality, his style. He's always speaking the truth.
Since this might be able to include Carl, so let's do a fantasy draft. Let's pick our top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time. Delvin, you can start. Then we'll go to Carl. Then we'll go to me. But you can't choose and picks. And then we'll put 5 against each other's 5 and see who would win in the battle royal. And so Delvin, go ahead and you pick first.
So for my first 5, I would pick MJF.
Wait. We're gonna take turns. So you go first. You picked MJF, and now it's Carl's turn.
Okay. The Rock. When he was still in his active
Okay,
time.
that's a good choice.
Yeah.
I actually applaud you for that choice, Carl. My first choice would be AJ Styles.
Oh, AJ Styles. Okay.
Nice.
Okay, Delvin. Now it's your turn.
Mine would be CM Punk.
CM Punk. Okay.
No, I would probably do the Undertaker.
That's a really good. That's a really good one. My second choice is Bret the Hitman Hart.
That's a good one. And my other one would be Hulk Hogan.
Oh
man. I would probably do.
Oh damn!
There you go.
You're putting together a really good team.
Oh, that's what I told you, man.
You're putting together a really good team. My third choice would be Sting.
Oh, that was my fourth choice. Damn
it. My fourth choice would be what was his name? I forgot. Oh, Billy Gunn.
Billy Gunn. Interesting choice.
He chose this thing. I just have to choose John Cena. I mean, I mean, he's not, I know he's not a. Well,
No,
okay, he's good,
He's
but
good. That's a really good choice.
I mean, his finishing moves are just.
He's built big built.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but John
that's a
Cena.
really good choice.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think that my fourth choice will probably have to be. It's a tough one. I think once you get deep into the draft,
Yeah.
it's pretty tough. This is kind of a name that's not too known, but I'll go with Samoa Joe.
Oh, nice. Joe. Yeah. My fifth one would be I'm gonna have to say Logan Paul.
Logan Paul.
Damn, that's what I was gonna pick too.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Damn, you guys are picking all mine.
Boxer.
Well, you remember he
wrestles now.
Yeah, he wrestles now.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it, Carl.
Oh man, what else wrestlers are there?
China.
China. Let's see. What was his name? Oh my God. It just went over my head. The Slim Jim guy. What was the
Macho
Man? There you go. Macho Man Randy. There you go.
That's a really good choice.
Yeah, there you go.
Really
That's my fifth choice.
Lastly, my last choice will be Mick Foley, the many faces of Mick Foley. My favorite Mick Foley character though is Cactus Jack.
Ah, yes. Okay. Damn, you're going old school on that one.
So I gotta really applaud you on that, Carl. You actually did a really, really great job, I think.
Well,
yeah,
to tell you the truth. Well, to tell you the truth, guys, I actually do like wrestling.
Oh, really?
I loved the wrestling when I was younger. I used to battle my brothers and sisters all the time on the couches and on the bed. You know, we used to do choke slams and everything like that. I think what discouraged me is that Sol would always yell at us for not doing that. And so she always called that, that very vulgar. So we couldn't watch wrestling all the time.
After a while.
Wrestling.
We used to do the exact same thing. We used to wrestle each other when we were kids, and then my mom would yell at each other. I remember one time my parents weren't home, and it was just me, my nephew, and one of my brothers. And I picked up my brother and I had him in the torture rack. And right in that moment, my mom opens the door and she spits me out. And that was the end of our fun for that day.
Oh man! Oh my God! Yeah. So I know the old school wrestlers. So
yeah, because I have a story too. Like similar to J-Man's. Like me and my brothers we were like constantly watch wrestling, WCW, and we would wrestle each other in the house, in the rooms and whatnot. And I remember I remember this like it was yesterday. One of my brothers got pissed off at me for some reason. I got so mad to the point where I just like kicked him in the balls right in front of my parents. And that's when my dad just told me like, "This is the reason why I don't want you guys watching wrestling. This is what happens. See what God." Like he got after me, so like I could have been watching wrestling anymore.
I think it's only native kids that do that.
Yeah.
So.
and now wrestling's not even popular, so like kids they don't even watch wrestling. Now they want to watch UFC, and that's another bandwagon sport.
It's not real anymore.
People only talk about MMA when there's a big pay-per-view.
Oh my God. So is there anything else that you would like to ask us, because we're pressed on time as well too?
Yeah, this one will be a good one.
All right.
What is a funny story your family tells about you and that you like to share?
I'll pass.
I'll pass.
Next question.
No, go for it, Carl.
Well, I think the one of the funniest stories that kind of revolved around us is that when we were kids, as and I have to give context. This was in the 90s. It is the same racist story. That's the funniest story. So I have to get context. 90s, early 90s, and I didn't know any better. I was still young, and my mother had dressed us all during Halloween. Had dressed us all in blackface. And we still have pictures with that in blackface, and we went around, cotton picking, and I told you that I had to give context. We didn't know any better. It was the early 90s, so it wasn't considered racist. I don't know if it was considered racist back then, You know, it wasn't the woke nation back then, but that was one. And we still look at it, we still laugh about it. So,
well, for me, the thing that my parents love to talk about is like, because I was a huge Ghostbusters fan when I was a kid. I loved the movies, I loved the cartoons, and then growing up on the Reds, like there weren't a lot of black people around on the Reds, and so one of the Ghostbusters, he's black, and his name's Winston, Winston Zedmore, and so when we were kids, our parents would take us to Phoenix, and then so we'd be out and about, like at the malls, different stores, and you would see some black people walking around.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how it happened, but me and my nephew, we got into calling black people Winston. Look at there's that Winston over there. There's that Winston man over there. Because that's how we correlated African Americans with this character from the Ghostbusters. And so everybody became Winston and that my parents love telling that. All right, Delvin. Well, we appreciate you having us on, and like Carl said, that we're pressed for time, and so look forward to having another conversation.
No
really
kidding.
Fun.
This was really fun. Actually, it's not part of the Carl and J-Man format, but we had a lot of fun. We had huge fun with you.
Yeah, I was glad to have you guys on, and we'll speak again soon.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you.
So long. Qwa'qwah.
Qwa'qwah. And that's that for that episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was awesome having Carl and J-Man on. That was the end of season 2, episode 20. Until next time, wait until you see season 3. But until then, y'all take care out there. Y'all stay happy. Y'all stay blessed. Y'all just keep doing you and continue being nice to one another. And make sure y'all check out the podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor.fm. Until next time, again, Qwa'qwah.